Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, November 25th. We are starting the Chaska Human Rights Commission meeting a little bit late. 21st. Did I say the wrong date? Sorry. It's the 21st. We're starting a little late because we had a work session before the meeting. So we will get right into our regular meeting now, and Nate could call the roll, please.
Commissioner Spreadbury.
Present.
Commissioner Leggett.
Present.
Commissioner Dunbar.
Here.
Commissioner Carlson.
Here.
Commissioner Welvert.
Here.
Commissioner Bean.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
And Commissioners Haga and Scarborough are absent tonight.
Okay. Everyone has an agenda in front of them. And if I don't hear any changes or additions, then
I move to adopt the agenda.
A second.
Okay, all in favor of adopting tonight's agenda?
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda. Our next item is open forum guest presentation. I know there is probably a group that was coming, but they knew because of the work session that we would be starting the meeting late. So if they show up, we'll work that into the agenda somehow. But since no one else is here right now, we can move on to approving the minutes from our last meeting back on September 26th.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor of approving the September 26th minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we are done with that. Moving right along. Nate, could you give us the treasurer's report for this month?
Sure thing. For the month of October, there were no new expenses. Well, no new expenses in the month of October or this month. So that brings us to a remaining balance of $1,546.69 on the
I had
year.
a question about this.
Yes.
There was nothing from the Race the Power of Illusion when we decided to allot some money for that?
That's correct. So the expenditure has not been made yet. But yeah, it's available and we've committed to it. So it's just getting through the process with working with Stacy.
So that
Next
was,
one. So
that's $3?
Yeah, I'll expect to see that on December's meeting.
Okay, so we're at about 1246 then, right now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. We're just moving right along. Let's move on to a discussion. I'd like to just kind of recap people's thoughts about the Race the Power of an Illusion event that we had. It was nice to see everybody there at least one of the nights, if not all of them, and so I'd just like to hear some thoughts about it.
I was wondering the first evening if attendance would pick up for the additional two in session 2, session 3. And so I was very pleased to see those numbers increase. I think the closing session, which I think was also led by a very capable individual, I thought provided some excellent feedback to each other in the room, and actually gave us some opportunities, I think, for forward action. I was very pleased with the overall presentation. I think Stacy did a great job pulling it together, getting the guest facilitator there.
I thought that the community input, I thought was just fabulous. And the respect that people showed each other when we were talking and the sharing of ideas. And I personally learned a tremendous amount. I agree with you. I thought Mr. Palmer did a super job of moderating the group for us. And things like that, I'd love to see us to be able to do more of that. It's really well done.
One thing I really appreciated about it too was, on one of the nights, we had, Mr. Palmer couldn't be there, so we had the table discussions instead. And that night, I sat at a table with people who agreed with me on things and people who didn't on some things. And it was really great because it was very respectful still with the conversation, and it gave us a chance to challenge our thinking and look at things from someone else's perspective. Maybe why is someone feeling this way and someone else, you know, I come from a different background than someone else does. And so I liked that there was some real challenge to some of my thoughts. And also I just am amazed. I've seen the series twice now, and I learned so much more that I didn't pick up on the first time, or it made me look at it in a different way.
I only was able to attend, I think it's the session you're describing with the table discussions. And I had a conflict from work, so I only saw the tail end of the videos. I had seen them before. And the table discussions were really, really good. And people were asking some very good questions. And there were a lot of, I didn't know that. And how people, you know, wanted to know, how did you feel when you saw that? And, there was a lot of, it feels like we've been misled with a narrative that's false and illusion. And so that reality, I think, you know, clearly, the point was made very clear, I think, by the videos. And discussions, I thought, teased some of that out.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how many people stayed as long as they did.
Yes.
And actually, I think Stacy had to just remind us that, you know, we only have the room for a certain period of time, and we had to leave because people really were hungry to learn more. So I think it was a really good event, at least for the one that I attended. I'm sorry I didn't get to attend the first and the last.
Well, that was something I heard, especially at the last one, was when people were leaving, they were saying, what's next? Or we want more, or
Yes.
things like that. And so that was really encouraging to me because,
Jenna's outside the door.
oh, you can come in, Jenna. Yeah, so I mean, I think that, that the people who attended are really hoping that this can continue with different educational and conversation opportunities. And there were some people who did come to all three, but there was some different faces at each one too. So, even, you know, you don't have to be at every one to learn something. I was getting good feedback at every session, so that was good.
I was unable to go to the first one, but I went to the second two, and then on the third one, rewatched most of the second one. And I thought, did I miss the whole second one? Because there was so
what I
much
felt
new, or so much that I hadn't heard. So I definitely would like to see them all again, because I think a lot more will sink in as it becomes apparent, as I watch it over again. But I thought it was fabulous. I thought the discussion was fabulous. And the only complaint I'd have was I thought maybe more of our city officials would have been in attendance. It's a community thing, and I only saw one of our city council people there for all of it. So it would have been nice to have more participation.
In the third session, our Matt Podorowski was there with his children. And I really thought that was important, and I can't echo enough. I wish I had seen more of our city, and to be frank with you, our county representatives there, because it was certainly a learning opportunity, a great opportunity to meet and greet people, new faces, who may not be engaged with human rights, but may have an interest in a piece of that.
Right.
And I recognize that everybody has schedules and everybody has commitments, but it would have been nice to see those other key officials.
There was a number of teachers or school staff that was there. There was one principal that I saw, I know, and so I was encouraged to see that. I also know the DVDs are back at the district now, so their plan is to use that in their professional development and their different education things that they do with the teachers and other school staff. So I'm excited that, you know, all the staff in the district eventually will get to see that, even if it wasn't at this event.
I'm glad that we chose to support that effort.
I
in the
am too.
viewing of that.
Yeah, I think it was wonderful, yeah. Okay, so we're all in agreement. It was great. So I think that we can probably move on. And I did see that our guest presenter has shown up. And so if you don't mind, we'll just go back to guest presentation before we move on in the agenda. Sure. So Jenna, would you like to step forward?
A lot more official than I'm picturing.
We're super official here. So.
Right, okay. I'm Jenna. I'm one of the leaders of ROAR. I know some of you guys, but not all of you. So we recently got in touch with Chain Reaction Theater Production, who Launch Ministry has used in the past and has been really happy with. They did a play here, I guess, on homelessness in youth that they were really happy with. How they set it up is they do a play in the middle of the audience, and then they have a 15-minute, like at the end, an interaction with the audience and feedback. So the play that they're doing now, that we signed up to do in May, is White Fragility. This play was written by Milana Moore. She's a Marquette African-American student, and she was inspired to do this play based on a Facebook interaction she saw of a white male asking black colleagues what white fragility looked like in their workplace. And so she was inspired to write this play, college student, and it's been a hit, I guess. Audiences have been really pleased with it. They've done this for all police officer audiences. They've done it for mixed audiences, white, black, doesn't matter, and just had really good feedback. So Corey actually got me in touch with Shelley, who's the production manager of this, and I set it up to be at the Chaska Community Center in May. And so now we're just looking to see if anyone wants, I'm asking for your money. That's what I'm here for, to see if you guys want to co-sponsor or be involved with the production of this. It's the audience range is about 60 to 80 people. Our target is obviously our community, based on what's happening, and off the last election, I think we can, or the referendum, I think we can all agree our community needs more things like this. So yeah.
And what amount are you looking for?
What was that?
What amount are you looking for?
$227 and 50 cents to be exact. Yes.
$227.50.
Yes.
And that's
Yep.
for the permit, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And can you clarify, is it white fragility or white privilege?
Oh, I'm sorry, white privilege, yes. So her inspiration is on the conversation that she saw about white fragility. And then the play touches on, so white fragility, microaggressions, what else was it? Violence, police violence, education, history, and cultural appropriation. And so the audience age range, she rated it as PG-13.
And Jenna, have you seen the play, or
No.
have you seen excerpts of the play?
Just,
or-
some online stuff, just little YouTube things, but other than that, no.
Okay.
Yeah, so just going off word of mouth, and I've read some reviews and talked to Shelley, who is the production manager, and then Corey as well, who's used her in the past.
Will it be playing anywhere where we could see it prior to being played?
I
here,
can
or-
ask, but I'm not sure. So they did it, I think, last in Wisconsin, and that's where they had the police, I think, force that attended that one. And yeah, it was well reviewed by the police officers.
So are you looking to have it at the community center theater?
Yes. Yeah, Chaska Community
And
Center.
is that what costs $227?
Correct. Yep, and I have that, and I can email you guys a copy of the receipt as well.
Okay.
Jen, is there a plan for marketing to ensure we get maximum attendees at this
Yes.
event?
So I've already planted it in Roar amongst our group in that we're going to reach out to every, so our target being, we want a lot of school employees to get there because that's our focus is on the schools. But then city leaders as well. I heard you guys talking about the PBS event, which I went to all three and I thought it was really great. But like you said, I was disappointed in the lack of city representation. So I want people to personally reach out, and I think we can easily get 80 people. But we'll have marketing, we'll have Facebook event. I plan on personally reaching out to city leaders, and then as well as our Roar people are going to reach out to where their children are at the schools and try and get people in that way as well.
And this would be one showing?
One showing, yes, yep. So their target is community events or churches. They do a lot of church events as well. It's not a typical theater production in where you're looking at the stage. They perform in the middle of the audience, and then you're sitting around. So it's kind of interactive.
So would it be in the theater?
No.
Okay.
They did not want that. Yep, they just wanted an open room is what they asked for, and then for seating to be around in an open center.
So it's in the community center, in the community room of the community?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yep.
just want to make sure I got that accurate.
Yep. Yep.
Is there going to be an admission charge or
She
donations?
said, yeah,
or-
so she said that they put tickets out, but that basically they work with anyone that wants to come to cover the costs.
Okay.
So
Because, is there a cost for the actors, or that you have to?
We don't. So I asked that of her as well. I said, so what do we pay the actors? And she said, we cover that. So all that they look for is the space be provided.
Okay.
Yeah.
When would you need an answer by?
I would say within a month. Yeah, I've already booked the room and everything, so that part is good to go. Yeah.
Are there any other funding sources that are?
No.
Okay.
No. We're being strategic in who we want to partner ourselves with, and you guys are making the effort right now to do the work that's needed in the community. So it's you guys, or we're going to fund it ourselves, because right now you guys are being the example and doing events like the PBS series, which we need more of in the community.
Can you explain to the commission a little bit more about, I mean, Roar is not an actual 501.
No, we're not a
So-
nonprofit. We're just
Right.
a bunch of parents that have got together to try and move this community a little farther.
And so I was asking that because you said that you would just take care of the funding
Yeah.
yourselves, but really there's no funding source in your
No,
group
just
right
us.
now. Okay.
Yeah, community members and parents that are part of ROAR. Yeah. Yep.
This sounds like a nice continuation to what we just started with. Embrace the power of an illusion.
Yeah.
We just talked about there were people at the end of that three-part series that indicated what's next.
Yeah.
It'd be great if we had something more. There have been a lot of questions about, what is white privilege? I don't know what that is.
Yep.
This sounds like something that allows you to watch some of the things that are happening as a third party versus going to be entertained.
Yep.
You're seeing things play out in front of you, which is a good way to bring to life versus telling someone what it is, a good way to bring it to life. So
Exactly.
from my standpoint, it certainly feels like a nice next step
Yep.
to doing what you talked about. How can we move the community along a little further?
Yep.
That's what it feels like to me.
I
Yeah.
was thinking the exact same thing. We were just saying minutes ago, what's our next? I think that would be a great what's next, and I absolutely think we ought to support it.
Yeah.
Our budget allows for that, absolutely.
What day are we looking for?
May 15th?
Yes.
It is the May 15th.
Yep, it's a Friday, I believe. Yep. This would be an evening performance.
Well, I'd like I would like to make a motion then to my fellow members that we support the ROAR organization in providing white privilege to our community on May 15th, 2020, and that our financial support to bring this effort would be $227, let's be bold, $228.
I second that.
I just have one question, maybe for Nate. I mean, is it possible though for the city to just donate that space, or is it because it's a private group?
Sorry, I'm just completing
I can-
my note of the motion
I've
here.
asked that myself of who I've been working with at the community center, and what I've been offered is a discount if we were a nonprofit, which we are not. And then if we partnered with the school district, then we would also get a discount, but we are not looking to do that right now.
Sorry,
Okay.
who made the second? Because there's a motion, so I just want to make sure I'm getting that
Either
right.
Ellen or Daryl.
Dean? Okay. Yes, so that is a policy that we have. The city is frequently approached by groups, wanting to do things like that. And so we do need to have a policy, and we need to be consistent with
Yep.
it. The way that it's being applied is not inconsistent with, any other group, so that's what I can offer for that.
Thank you.
The only question I'd have before we proceed with the motion is, do we need to speak with any other groups that have already watched it or experienced it if there's nothing available online to view it ourselves, to try and get a sense beyond what's been presented to us, just so we have a fully informed opinion before we contribute $228? I mean, I'm all for it. It sounds like a great idea. I just don't want to endorse something without fully understanding it.
Understandable. Yeah.
That's a
It could
good
be a
point.
contingency to the motion,
Did you say there were clips on YouTube or something?
Yeah, I can put together some, and I could even put you in touch with Shelley. She's really easy to talk to, and she'd be happy to do that for you. Yeah.
So instead of voting on this tonight, maybe could we do that at the December meeting? Once we've had a chance to,
What is our concern?
Well, it seems like we have more than enough money. Have you already paid it? So we could reimburse her out of this year's budget, even taking out the Martin Luther King. We still
that-
have,
okay, if she's already paid it, to reimburse this year?
If the expenses incurred in this calendar year, then it would be applied to this year's budget. Yeah.
Can we do contingent voting? though? That's, I think, what.
No.
Yeah, if we say we motion and it's a seconded and we all vote aye contingent upon favorable review or favorable discussion with the
I
producer.
think there,
No, I think you have to.
there's two answers to that question. Contingent voting is not unheard of. I mean, there's ways to do contingencies in approving things. But in this case, I think it would be very hard to understand what the commission feels is favorable viewing
Right.
in order to make that decision. And so I think if the commission feels that it wants to see more information, that we could, do that, and then we could, take it up in December to make a decision. That would be an option.
I can withdraw my motion. We can table my motion.
Vote on
You
it.
can amend my motion, but we can't have a contingency.
I'm not trying to say this is what we want to do. It's just a point of discussion. If you're comfortable with what we have presented to us, I'm confident I could get comfortable as well.
What are you uncomfortable about?
We don't know what the content is. I don't know what the duration is. Is it 30 minutes? Is it 2 hours, right? That's not the big deal, but really, we have a point that says it's about cultural appropriation, violence, education, and history. I mean, those are four pretty big topics, so how they're presented and what the actual content is in those four topics. Before we say, yes, the Chaska Human Rights Commission is fully behind this, I think it might behoove us to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. We'd hate to have our name associated with something that is inappropriate.
I have
I-
very little fears that it'd be inappropriate. I
Me
just want to
too.
be smart.
And I know Jenna and the work she's done and the good work she's trying to do in our school, so I trust her judgment on this. And
I also want to look at that Corey Megstad was the one who connected her with it, and
And
he's
he
worked
said
with
if
this
this
theater
came up,
company.
you can also talk to him
Sure.
for
No,
recommendations,
I'm
yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
And I trust his judgment on things too, so that helps me,
Be comfortable.
yeah.
Great. Like I said, I know you know these people more than I do, so if you're comfortable with it, I'm confident I can be comfortable with it as well.
Good questions, though.
Yeah.
Those are very good questions.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so there has been a motion and a second, so now we will vote for, like you said, that long thing, for the approval of
228.
$228 to Roar for paying for a space, and we will support them in the performance of White Privilege in May next year. All in favor? All right, it sounds unanimous.
Thanks, guys.
Very exciting.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I think one thing too is if we're helping out with it, we can probably do some of the,
Co-promoting.
yeah,
and, Yeah,
yeah.
recruitment.
we
Yeah.
put
Are
it on
you
the
the
city
person to
website.
connect with to get the receipt of the transaction
Yeah,
and
I can
reimburse
actually,
funds and all
do you
that?
just want to take this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be in touch because we'll have to just trade some paperwork and
Okay.
things to make that
Yep,
happen. So-
that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Jenna.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jenna.
Thank you.
Good night.
Does our other guest have?
I'm not sure. Okay, now we will go back onto our agenda and move to item 6B. An update on the Martin Luther King breakfast planning. And Sarah has,
You want me to go check
Is he
with you
here to do
guys?
something?
Open discussion? I can go ask.
oh, do you want to go ask
Yeah,
him
I'll go. I'll
before
just
we
go in there, yeah.
continue? Sure. Well, welcome, thank you for coming tonight to listen. Okay, we'll move on to the update for the Martin Luther King breakfast, and Sarah has prepared some, a summary here of what we've been discussing.
So three commission members, Jennifer, Kaylee, and myself have been meeting with Jeff Philippek with Southwest Metro Chamber and Nate Cabot to plan the MLK breakfast for January 20th, 2020 at the Chaska Event Center. And I believe that we have all the details ironed out. And thus my report to the commission is just kind of summarizing where we are. We have an MC for the program who is Commissioner Ellen Bean. Commissioner Lisa White is coordinating through the Chaska High School Band Jazz Band 1.
I spoke with Mr. Bessler, and they're more than happy to do it. I maybe should get with you guys, he would like some logistic information. Timing, how many songs, how long.
Excellent.
Yeah, we can connect on that.
Yep. Our invocation will be given by Corey Magstaff from the Launch Program. The speech team will be doing our student readings at the event, and one of the subjects or one of the topics that came up that Nate's following up with is if our guest speaker, Ms. Josie Johnson, has any recommendations for readings that she could then, that would be linked to her presentation. And so, if not, don't worry. The students are practicing various readings, and I'm sure will be well prepared to present on January 20th. Our keynote speaker is Ms. Josie Johnson, and we're very, very fortunate to have her. And in a moment or two, I'll ask the commission for an approval on an honorarium amount for her. As earlier, we decided that the presentation of the Human Rights Award will be given by myself, and we'll also acknowledge the previous recipients of the award that will be present. And our chair will close the event. And so I've provided some costs for us to just kind of review. Our beverages will be provided by Dunn Brothers. We actually have Danish items. I believe it's $246. You can correct me, Nate, if I'm wrong. Our event center catering, which is the coffee service, the plates, and those kinds of things, in the amount of $250. Jeff Philippek with the Southwest Metro Chamber will be producing all of the copies for us of our program. And so the request that I'm bringing to the commission is consideration of an amount of honorarium to be presented to Ms. Johnson. I think she is a key speaker, a key activist in the events in our lifetime that we have seen. I believe that we're very fortunate to have her be our keynote speaker. And I believe that honorarium in the amount of $200 is very reasonable. She has not asked for this. Please know that. It's simply a matter of what we think she can bring to our program.
Yeah, I just hope that people in the community understand who Josie Johnson is. If you don't, you should come to the event. She is a real living legend of civil rights in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
She is a person who was organizing and fighting for rights during the turbulent times of the 60s when she was a young woman. Vernon Jordan, who's a legendary civil rights activist in the United States, when he came and spoke at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast in Minneapolis in 2015, specifically called out Ms. Josie Johnson for her lifelong service for tirelessly fighting for civil rights here in Minnesota. We are extremely fortunate to have Ms. Josie Johnson come here to Chaska, and it's actually a perfect time when you consider all of the civil rights types of issues that we've been fighting over the last year, longer than that, but that have come to light over the last year. I would strongly recommend that people come to this breakfast, bring their children, and make sure that they come ready to listen, learn, and honor a true living legend of Minnesota, who I put in the same category of Walter Mondale and anyone else who people have honor for here in Minnesota. She is that wonderful a person. So I would make a motion to support, is that what you need for the honorarium? For $200.
A second.
Okay, we have,
Are there any questions for,
she's 88.
regarding the update?
Only in terms of the notes where you had talked about, we'll acknowledge the previous recipients. We also talked tonight about acknowledging the people who have been nominated for this year, but were not chosen.
I'll add that.
Okay. And Donzo, you just spoke so passionately about Ms. Johnson. And will you want to introduce her?
I don't need to. I think we have a fantastic MC for the event, who I'm sure will translate that passion that I just articulated
Okay,
into something that Ms. Johnson will be very proud of.
all right. Just thought I'd check.
This event is recorded, right?
It is.
Yeah, I think particularly this year, it would be wonderful to have that recorded so that we can look back at that again.
Yeah.
And who is working with Ms. Johnson in terms of just kind of educating her on kind of where the community is, the things we've experienced,
Right now-
and to make sure she understands
Right
that
now,
coming
she's
in?
traveling,
Okay,
and Nate will be the first point of contact, and then when she is back, then we're hoping that she can meet with the planning group.
good.
So that we can talk some more with her, get to know her, and kind of maybe what themes she would like us to kind of focus on throughout the day and everything.
Because I would recommend also educating her in case she may not know what's the history here. I would not have her come in blind to that.
Right.
So I would be
Yeah,
very
that's a good
clear
point.
with her what's been happening and make sure she's educated.
Sure.
So that she has that perspective as she builds her talk.
I've been so far communicating through Hetty Walls, who works for the YMCA and does a lot of, leads their equity efforts at the YMCA. She's been leading the training that city staff have been going through over the last couple months. And so she's become very aware of what's going on in the community. I don't know the level of conversation that Dr. Walls has had with Dr. Johnson about specifics and things like that, but she recognizes that importance, and yeah, we're working towards having that. It's been challenging just because Dr. Johnson's been traveling, but yeah.
We need to call for the vote.
Okay, yes, we have a motion and a second, so now we will vote. All in favor of approving the amount of $200 for an honorarium for Josie Johnson to come to the MLK breakfast, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has been approved.
Just going to make one note. There's a number of the expenses that Commissioner Carlson pointed out. I'm going to make every effort to try and tap into this year's budget to pay for some of these things if I can ahead of time, since we've got dollars available, and to do it that way. And so that gives us more to work with hopefully next year. So try to navigate that the best I can. There's some things obviously I can't pay for until we receive, like Danishes, for example, but some of the other things I think we can try and do that.
Well, we have our fans for the next River City Days already. So
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all for Bill.
They eventually came.
There's something good that came out of it, right? Okay. We will move on to new business. Our next item is to discuss the Human Rights Award. Before this meeting tonight, we did have our work session where we went through a record number of nominees for this award, which is exciting. We had 5 different people's names put into the pool this year, and they were all really strong candidates. It's amazing to see the things that are going on in our community, advancing work on human rights throughout this city. So I'm really excited that we had a tough decision between these 5. I'm just going to read off all the nominees so we can recognize them now, and then we'll move on to making our nomination for the award. They are Faith Blackstone for her work with the Black History 365 Uncensored. Learning Links, which is an accessible community golf course. Chuck Lieber for his work with Families Moving Forward, Meals on Wheels, and Conversations with Friends. Stacy Nelson Kumar for her work with bringing the Race the Power of an Illusion to the city. And Barbara Colhap for her years of community leadership within the city of Chaska. So there has been some great accomplishments that are going on in this community, and I'm really excited to see that. Anyone who is nominated on here is definitely deserving of recognition for their work. And if they are not the chosen winner this year, then they can certainly be nominated again. And we'd love to hear more about what they're doing in the community. We will be inviting all of the nominees to be recognized, like we talked about at the breakfast. And so we certainly hope they can join us there. But after our discussion tonight, then we did decide on one person that we all felt was truly an example of working for human rights and worthy of the Human Rights Award for this year. I'm just going to read a little bit about her from her nomination. And this is about Barbara Colhap. And she was nominated for her decades of service and dedication to advancing the opportunity in human rights in our community through education. She was a teacher for over 20 years to students of English as a second language. She led a project for the National Issues Forum for the New Reader. That project targeted basic adult ed students in the Carver-Scott counties. It included inmates of correctional institutions, adult basic ed students, Indian tribes, and other English as a second language students. She has served the community through the Carver County Library Board, Truth Foundation, and the Friends of the Library. She was a founding member of the Human Rights Commission in Chaska. Barb is always looking to stay involved and active with the issues that affect people's lives. She is a real fighter for justice. Barb started the Lodge discussion group twice a month for active older adults on a wide variety of topics with guest speakers. She is truly a community leader. And so, just looking at everything she's contributed to this community over the years, it was very apparent to us that we need to appreciate her and award the Human Rights Award to her this year. So thank you, Barb. So if we need to make it official, do I have a motion to nominate Barbara Colhap for the Human Rights Award?
I make a motion to nominate Barb Cohop.
I'll second her motion.
Okay, all in favor of Barbara Colhap as the Martin Luther King Breakfast Chaska Human Rights Award winner? Aye. Sorry. Okay, it is definitely unanimous after a great discussion we had about her, and I'm so excited that we're going to present this to her this year at the breakfast.
I just want to make sure, sorry, I get a little behind when I'm typing notes. So Dunbar made the motion and Carlson made the second? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're out of practice.
Yeah. I need Katie back.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7B, which is an update on Marnita's Table, the Celebrate event, which is coming up on December 5th. Did you want to do the update, Nate, or would?
Sure, yeah. So the city of Chaska staff have been working with the school district, in addition to Jen has been involved, and a couple of parents to plan this event with Marnita's Table. Marnita's Table is a nonprofit organization that holds these sorts of events with the desire to bring communities together to have meaningful dialogues over a meal. They're based out of the Twin Cities, but they do these things across the country. And so we've engaged with them to do an event for this purpose on December 5th. The event will be from 6 till 9 at the Chaska Event Center. There will be food there representing different cultures that are in our community. It'll offer the opportunity for people to go around and learn about those cultures, both through food and through conversation. And then people will have the opportunity to, sit down at tables together, to engage in a meal and then have discussion. Marnita's Table is there to guide discussion and try to, bring up topics for conversation and things like that. This will be the first of 2 events. The second one is, we're still trying to land on a specific date in February of 2020. And we will have that date figured out ahead of this event, I'm hoping, so that we can announce it. But the goal here, I think, is going to be really to start identifying some themes and things that the community is coalescing around, hopefully setting us up for that second one to talk about next steps, and things that we as a community want to be doing to move forward. So that's the intent. That's kind of the overall design. We're calling it Celebrate, a feast and conversation about the holidays, and really the idea there is that we're in the center of the holidays, and different people celebrate the holidays in different ways, and holidays mean different things to different people. And so that really gives an opportunity to talk about, that as a platform, then to move into other dialogues about other things. We want the appeal to be broad. We are hoping for a broad audience of people that have all sorts of different perspectives to offer up, and just kind of enjoy ourselves as a community and have some good conversations. So that's what it's about. Happy to answer any questions, or Jen, if you want to add anything.
I would just add that I've been so impressed on how accessible this group is, as far as they want to make it as accessible to the community as possible. For instance, it's a free dinner, so people can just show up and they get to eat dinner, and they will provide meals, and there will be everything from vegetarian to carnivore, is what they said. So it will, they're very aware of different dietary needs and things like that. And so they make sure that everyone will have something to eat that they can when they're there. And like I said, there's no cost. They do ask for people to RSVP, but if someone decides that day that they want to come, they can just show up. They just want to get an idea of how much food that they should have. The other thing is that if you have a barrier to transportation, you can let them know when you RSVP, and they will help you arrange for transportation, whether it's someone comes and picks you up, or we've talked about a couple different ways, like carpooling, or different ways that we could get people there, because anyone who wants to be there should be part of the conversation. I'm really excited to see this in action after I've heard about it, and Marnita is just a dynamite. I mean, she gets people going, and she's so energetic, and she's so passionate about what she does.
I think it's interesting to learn about her story and learn from her that this all really started in her house, around her table, trying to get people from her community and neighborhood together around, the food that she was cooking personally. And now it's grown. She's no longer personally cooking the food, but the concept has grown, into this thing that is now a full-fledged nonprofit that's doing stuff all around the country. So it's a pretty neat story.
Jeff, I'm sorry, I was going to say, I agree, they're really open to getting as many people as possible. I RSVP'd and got a note back, just bring anybody, just keep, just keep coming with people. I was like, oh, okay. So I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry, Judy.
My question is, I have my grandson's holiday concert at 6 o'clock that evening. I'm sure it won't last till 9, so can you drop in anytime, or?
Yeah, that was something she said, don't let the timing be an issue either, because there are people that have concerts and school
Okay.
things and things. If you can come for 10 minutes, come, and if you can come for the whole thing, come. They said that it was really flexible for people to just come in and leave as they need to. They also said there will be childcare available for anyone who wants to bring a young child that would probably not want to sit at a table and have conversation for 3 hours. But it's not all conversation the whole time. There are activities that they do. They have high schoolers who come in and play with kids over, and I mean, they're still in the area, so you can still see your children. I mean, they really have this down to, you know, they figured out all the ins and outs of what needs to be taken care of.
I think I sent an invitation to all of you, at least in my mind I did. Okay, so I followed through, that's good. Please, you know, feel free to share that with people. I think with these sorts of events, a lot of times it's that personal invitation that might motivate someone to come rather than just seeing a flyer, you know, posted on a wall or something like that. So we've been trying to get personal invitations out. We're encouraging others to do the same. And, you know, at the same time, we are trying to get the flyers out and do that more mass marketing as well. But, you know, feel free to be a part of that as much as you feel comfortable.
Is it for Chaska residents, or can we invite people from the surrounding communities, or?
Yeah, you know,
What is it designed for?
this is a joint thing with the city of Chaska and the school district. I guess,
Community ed.
yeah, yep, school district community education. I guess with the city of Chaska being the only one that has stepped up to be involved in this, I think our view is that the focus is on Chaska. But, you know, the school district serves 4 communities, and I think if there's other people that are
And there are
interested in coming, that's fantastic as well.
There are people on the planning group that are from the different schools. There's some different staff members from different schools and stuff. So I think it would be appropriate if you know someone in this area that would like to attend, because it is put on by Community Ed, which serves, you know, Eastern Carver County. Okay. Our next item is an education opportunity that Nate had talked to me about, and has talked to the organization a little bit more about it, so I'm gonna let him give us a little briefing about the Green Card Voices project.
Yeah, so this is a project that I got exposed to through the equity training that city staff have been attending at the YMCA. It's an exhibit that the YMCA in downtown Minneapolis has as part of their Equity Institute, but it's also a traveling exhibit. It's called Green Card Voices. So what it does is it's very similar in approach to the Transfer of Memory exhibit that we all were involved in February of this year, but this is focused on immigrants and refugees. And so what it does is it has a portrait of an immigrant or refugee, primarily people I think that live in Minnesota, or you know, the Twin Cities area in greater Minnesota. So a portrait of an individual, then their story accompanies that on the display. And then there's also a QR code with that you can scan with your device and then access a video to actually hear the person tell their story. And so that's what it is. There's about 20 in any particular traveling exhibit. They've got a few different options. One of them focuses on kids. Another one focuses more on adults. And I think there's maybe a couple other options, but those are ones that are available to people in other geographies around the country. So for us, I think those are the choices that we have, is my understanding. The 20 are on display. You can have it for a month, or you can have it for a shorter amount of time if you desire. I guess my thought was that this would be a great opportunity to activate our gallery space at the community center again, much like we did with the transfer of memory exhibit, and have those just on display for a month time frame. They also do events and programming along with it. There's additional costs that goes into that, so I think, that's something that we could explore. They can do things like panel discussions. They can do things, like for smaller groups, maybe having some of the refugees and immigrants that are part of the Green Card Voices group, come out and interact with, school groups or business groups, or whatever the case may be. And there's also some other interactive activities and things like that that they described to me as well. So I think those are things that we could, learn more about if we think that we're interested in that. I worked with staff at the community center to find out when the gallery space would be available. So what I found out is that it would be, hope I'm not speaking incorrectly here, I think it was August. I know I noted this in my report. I intended to. I'm pretty sure it's August of 2020. Yeah, there it is. In order to have it there, that's really the only month that remains on the calendar in 2020 that we don't have some other exhibit already booked. So I guess that would be my recommendation if we want to proceed, that we would just firm up reserving August of next year for this. The cost for the month is $1,000. I think the thing that would be good to try and pursue is other groups getting involved in contributing to that cost. So hopefully the Human Rights Commission is maybe a part of that. But maybe, we could approach the business community or other community organizations to be a part of some of that cost. With any luck, maybe we're able to get past that $1,000 and have some money to do some of that additional programming as well to accompany it, which I think could be a good goal. And maybe there's other options to do that too. Jen and I talked about maybe we try to do, some sort of panel discussion ourselves with people that are in our community who are immigrants or refugees, and trying to do something like that. I don't know. Those are things that we could try and formulate over the course of time between now and August if we're going to do this sort of a thing. So I guess at this case, or at this point in time, my hope was to share this with you, answer any questions, or understand, things that you want to know more about. And if there's enough interest, and you think this is something that you may want to proceed with, then I would develop that discussion a little bit more, and, continue to move this forward. If this is something that you're thinking is not worth pursuing, then I won't, go forward with that effort, so, yeah.
Interestingly enough, I saw this exhibit this past weekend.
Well, many of us did.
Many of us did. If you visited the Fair Trade program over in Excelsior. And I had a chance to talk with VAMUS Scholarship, leader Juan.
Irina.
Yes. And he actually sent me this information today. I was going to bring it to our attention this evening because I was so impressed. I took the time to read all 20 of the banners that they had of green card youth, and made some internal observations and had the opportunity to talk with my husband about some of the things that we saw in the display. I think it's a great opportunity for us. I liked the not connected to Green Card Voices was the presentation of short remarks by individuals who have immigrated to our country and who currently work in and around Chaska. And they gave their little stories about how when they came, who provided them with motivation, and it really brought home several of the key messages that I read on the various banners. And I would say just to have the banners isn't sufficient. I think we should have banners, and we should have an educational component attached to that. Not unlike our Celebrate, or the Celebrate participation, Race the Power of Illusion. I think these are all key pieces that we need to pay attention to in our community. I'd heartily recommend and endorse this.
Yeah, I do as well, but I agree with Commissioner Carlson. I think if it's just an exhibit, you know, for half of our budget, probably the value's not there. But if it's an exhibit for a month and we've got programming that drives that educational piece, because it's the discussion about these that's important, because so many immigrants are vilified unless they come from Northern European countries. They're assumed to be negative impact to this community, and there are many organizations in this state, like the Center for the American Experience, places like this, that are trying to vilify any immigrants that come to this country that are not from Northern Europe. I mean, and the bottom line is that, you know, we have a tremendous history of people coming here from all over the world that are adding tremendous value. And I think that there is a perception that, you know, that certain groups who have green cards don't really have them, are illegal, those kinds of things. So I think if we're going to do this, I would do it and make sure there's programming for the month that ensures that people are actually learning about the real people behind these cards. If it's just cards, I wouldn't do it. If it's something that's programming over a 4-week period, I think it will be very powerful.
I would like to know more about what that story stitch is that's listed on your report, Nate,
Okay.
to see what that kind of offers. Because I do think, listening to the stories of the young women that I saw at this fair trade market was really powerful, and it was really nice to hear from people that actually live in my community, to know what they're contributing to our community and what we are contributing to them, and why they want to be a part of this community. And just hearing the stories behind how they got here, and, you know, what, I don't know, what their thoughts are on a number of different topics that they talked about. It was just really fascinating to listen to them. So I had brought up to you the idea of like local immigrants coming and talking, and hopefully we could do something like that. But this story stitch, I don't really know what that what that presentation is or anything. So I'd like to at least learn more about it.
And to be honest with you, I don't really know what it is either. It was something that, you know, was part of what's listed on their website of, you know, the sorts of activities and things that they can do. My thought is, you know, I'm seeing a lot of support here, at least to learn more. You know, I think what I'll do is, you know, I can find out more about that, but I'm going to invite the person who I've been in touch with at Green Card Voices. Her name is Julie Vang. So maybe she can come out in December to our meeting as a, you know, guest presentation or something like that, and help answer some questions and help develop that a little bit more. Sounds like there's enough interest that it's worth me, you know, pursuing funding from other sources, so I can try and work on that a little bit over the next month, and just see where we can go with it.
Great.
Just quickly, I had a discussion with Juan at the event as well, and he suggested having it like in, you know, on display in Chaska, then at maybe Chan or Victoria. And I'm wondering if there would be another city that would split the cost with us and have it 2 weeks here. And a month seems like a long time if we're gonna have activity to support it regularly. That maybe we could do 2 weeks and then have somebody else do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can explore that idea, whether that's an option. Yeah.
And everybody start thinking about groups or individuals who you think might want to partner with us on this? Because if we can defray the cost somehow, that would be great. Even though we have fans, we'll still need something. Okay, well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Nate.
Sure thing.
Unless anyone has anything else to add, then
New
I.
business.
What's that?
I have.
You do?
I do. I understand that commissioners can receive business cards,
Yes.
and I was wondering what that process is. And do all
just
of the
did it.
commission members, okay? And even our new or our alternate commissioners have access to receiving business cards?
Yes. Yep. So, yeah, if anyone wants business cards, just let me know. I know we have a format, so I'll find out what that is and I'll share it with you because we'll want, whatever the information is that you want on it. So, yeah, I'll do that. Anyone else? Any other business card wanters?
I think I requested them months ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
patient.
Thank you
okay.
for your patience and thank you for the reminder. I'll
There's
work on
been
it.
a holdup at the printer.
Yeah.
Yes. And a shortage on paper, yeah.
Okay, if nothing else, then our next meeting date will be on December 17th, which is not our normal week to meet, but
December 19th.
December 19th?
Yes, another thing I messed
December
up on.
19th.
Yeah.
Well, on the original one, I saw December 25th and got worried.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been able to be here. Okay, so our next meeting is December 19th. And
I have one other question.
Sarah has a question.
This question is directed to Nate. Can you let us know which commission members may be up for renewal for 2020?
Yes.
And what the application process is if those individuals wanted to renew?
Yes. I have let both of those individuals know. So Commissioner Welbert and Commissioner Leggett, both are at the end of their first term, 3-year term with the Human Rights Commission. And so they can, they've got the opportunity to reapply if they'd like to for a second term. People can serve up to 3 consecutive terms before they need to take a break. And so that's how that works. But yeah, there's an application. I've provided that to them. And they've got that opportunity to do that. So there would be, I think it ends up being we're targeting the first meeting in January, when whoever does apply is invited to come to the council and do an interview, and then the council goes through that process. So, yeah,
Thank you for clarifying.
sure thing.
I asked that question too before, so I didn't know the process, so that's good to know.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn then.
A second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Motion carried. Go, Denzel, go.
Donzel's